Hi, this is Mike, and we're looking at the XLM chart. So we have broken finally the support level that I would say is the start of wave E. Um, Basically, wave E just went a bit longer and then turned around, right? You wouldn't expect this thing to go any higher. You could see the weakness in that wave E, and we've broken support pretty, impulsively. Now, at the small degree, I just noticed what some people would call a scam wick. I think that's what it is. It's a very strange looking retest of, breaking that level, but very strange indeed the way that it panned out, considering that this correction had already been done. So because it didn't go above the previous high, to me, I almost count that as purely corrective in the sense that I think what happened is you had a wave one and then you had a sudden move down, right? And then I think that it could have been part of an expanded correction, which then came back to sort of do this, but never went above the last high. Now I'm not sure. I haven't checked other exchanges, but to see if this is meaningful, if it did go above the last high. But how do I reconcile that type of thing? Well, that's where it comes in handy to know what happened beforehand. You see, for me to assume that that's anything other than what I just said, you would have to take a good look at the previous waves to understand that it would be basically impossible for that to occur unless we were looking at something completely different. Like, for example, if wave D didn't end where I think it ended, right? For example, if this was like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or something, and then we had like an A, B, C, D, E or something. It could have been like a D wave, but that still would have only been a D wave, right? And then you'd have to say, oh, well, then in that case, this would have been a complete E wave. But no, you're missing the point because there's other waves that occurred in between, and that wasn't a 5 wave move up here, and neither was that. So, looking at all the possibilities, this is why I encourage you to learn the waves that I teach, because once you get a firm grip on what these waves are and label them, you have a point of reference to understand if something weird happens like that, you can actually go back and say, okay, well, where did I go wrong? Where could I possibly be wrong if I had to pay attention to the chart instead of just looking at the price go up and down on the screen, right? Because that's not productive, right? So, you put two and two together, you reduce the possibilities of it being something else, and then you calm down. You're like, yeah, you're fine. In case you're one of those people who gets worked up over something like that. Because those scam wicks are there to psych you out. I don't call them scam wicks. In fact, the only reason I say that is because of Richard Hart. He calls them scam wicks, right? And when people say things, it's usually a reflection of themselves. I heard that somebody say that before, and I thought that was funny. I mean, that when someone is having a problem with something and they take it out on you, it's usually them. Anyway, going off topic. So yeah, knowing what happened beforehand is important. So another thing I want to talk about in this video, because it's not just updating you to say, oh yeah, we're moving down lower. That's great, right? We have ways to go. I also want to talk about how like Bitcoin made this move up, right? And you know, it and during this time, Bitcoin made its move up, but yeah, XLM made a zigzag pattern, right? Now, knowing that XLM made a zigzag wave A, B, C, D, E, etc., right? You can't exactly turn around and say, well, that was a wave one and now we're in wave two. That is just you not knowing what is on the chart, right? In my opinion only, just my opinion, right? It just means that. So it's like saying, okay, a zigzag is like a wave 1, right? Now that is possible, right? Don't discount the fact that that's possible. A zigzag could be a wave 1 if it was a weak 5-wave move. But once again, this is why it's good to know the waves. The one thing that deters me from thinking that is 2 waves straight up the bat, B and C, right? Because what happens after wave 1, whether it's a zigzag or not, is you get A and B. When you see a 5-wave move as replacing B wave, that doesn't exist, right? And I can say that with a level of accuracy that I use to actually create AriasWave. That's why I created it. So I have a set of rules that you just never see on a chart. It doesn't exist. So it can't be that. This is part of the reason why my view hasn't changed, right? I've maintained the view throughout. And when I latch onto a view and other charts support my view, I'm firm, I'm bold. I say it the way it is. I don't play around, right? Now, that's great. That's fine. So another thing to note here, look at the similarities between this wave E and this wave E, right? Now, if you're going to say that's a wave E and then you see another one similar, chances are it's a wave E. I mean, look how very similar they are. You can almost say they're identical, but I wouldn't go that far. But that's just interesting to note. So yeah, we're in wave 3, a third of a third. We're probably gonna move lower soon, right? So what's the deal here? Do we continue down? Are we gonna break lows? Are we gonna go really hard here? I would say yes. I'd say we're gonna smash right through this area pretty quick, or you know in a very brutal manner, but also in a way that will catch out a lot of people using uh, fibs. All right. So if you pull out a fib right now, where's it at? 50%. Why did it bounce? Ooh, there's a clue. It hit the 50%. Ellioticians are looking at this, or just generally people use fibs, right? That's why it bounced, right? So we just answered our own question as to why it bounced. It hit the 50% area. Why? Because people are bullish. They're hopeful, right? And that's what gets people in trouble. So what happens now? People go in, and then it comes back down. It'll step back down to probably to 0.618, and then lower and lower. Eventually, it'll break the lows. Hopefully, you found this update interesting and informative. Thank you for watching.